Yes, guys, welcome back to Transfer News Live at 5 o'clock with myself, AGT, and it's a Wednesday, so that means we've got this fella joining me. Very grateful to have him in the studio. It's James B. once again. Shall I say it again?
Well, I'm being a bit of an amateur because I had the comments up and it started playing, but it was quite quiet, so maybe no one picked up on that, in which case I never had to even address that. But here we are.
Here we are.
So, hey, how are you, mate?
No, I'm good, and you're my favourite AFTV presenter.
Yeah, you just keep telling them every week, every time I'm here. Just tell them I'm your favourite,
Well,
and
the
comments can just not agree with you as they did the last two
Who
times.
is your favourite AFTV? No, I'm joking. Let us know anyway.
Probably.
Who is your favourite AFTV presenter?
Ty?
Ty? Okay.
Probably Ty. Cheers,
Presenter or guest?
He's definitely the nicest to me.
Okay. That's
Like, every time I see him, he's just, like, so nice to me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Everyone else
I
is
wish I
quite
could
nice.
say the same. But smash that like button, get your comments in. I'll tell you now what we're going to be speaking about in this show. It does, of course, involve an Arsenal midfielder leaving N5, and that is Thomas Partey, set to leave Arsenal as a free agent at the end of the month. More on that to come. Pogba going to Monaco. We've got Newcastle almost preparing themselves and fighting to keep hold of Isaac, maybe offering him an absolute monster deal that he won't be able to turn down. And breaking news just in, Cristiano Ronaldo is set to sign a new deal with Al Nassr as well, and there's a few other bits and bobs that will chuck in, including Darwin Nunez, including Joel Hatto as well, who again has been linked with both of our clubs. So if you're looking forward to this show, show us. Smash that like button, get your comments in, and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, go and follow this fella on the Gooniverse, putting out some great content.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
And obviously, I'll big up myself as well. Go
Cop
watch
TV.
that Jeremy Frimpong interview on the Cop TV. It's out now. All right. So let's start this one off with Thomas Partey, who looks set to leave Arsenal, doesn't he? As a free agent. What's your immediate reaction to this? We can obviously get into the fact that Arsenal are looking at Norgard
Christian
from
Norgard,
Brentford. But what was your, without talking about Norgard, initially, what was your immediate reaction today when you saw that Thomas Partey, after how many years of service? Maybe five?
I think it was five seasons.
Years?
Came in the summer of 2020.
He's going to be going on a free agent. How do you feel?
It's a very strange one because, okay, we sort of need to remember the time frame in which this happened. At the end of the 23-24 campaign, where Partey hadn't played much of a part, albeit came in the run-in, to be fair, he had played very, very little football. Rice was starting six, Jorginho was starting six, and we'd kind of started growing beyond Thomas Partey, only for him to come back in the run-in and then be probably our best midfielder throughout the 24-25 campaign, proving his fitness, which shocked everyone. But even amongst that form, everyone was kind of going, yeah, but Arsenal aren't offering a new deal. The injury problems of the past are, I imagine, a big reason of that. And then suddenly in April, he might actually sign. Arsenal want to keep him. He wants to sign a new deal. I'm sure they'll come to some sort of arrangement, but they haven't. So we've kind of gone from, well, Zubimendi's coming in, so we've replaced our starting six, so it's going to be a case of whether Jorginho leaves or goes, to, oh wait, Partey might stay, in which case you've got Partey and Zubimendi to pick from. That's as good number six depth as any around the world, quite frankly, for me. To, they haven't been able to agree a deal, but the reality is, Partey was going to be a number two to Zubimendi, it looks like anyway, because Arsenal, I think if they were planning on using him quite so much, maybe might have met his terms. So it's a really difficult one because the news has filtered through with the Norgard stuff. So you're not just accepting that Partey's leaving, you're now accepting that it's going to be Christian Norgard. So you're accepting that Partey's leaving, simultaneously appreciating that Norgard is taking his place in the squad. Now, big debate online is how people are viewing this. Some people are going, Norgard, Partey, there's no question who the better player is. But others are going, well, actually it's Zubimendi, Partey, and there's Norgard, Jorginho. Problem is, at one point Arsenal did want Zubimendi and Partey together with the squad. And to not have that feels like a step down. But I can understand why Arsenal didn't meet his terms. So there's a lot of things to get my head around really here. Same for all Arsenal fans, I imagine. There's just a lot going on. But what I do like, if I'm to give the club some credit, they've responded really quickly. Partey's leaving, they had someone lined up, and I think for a £10 million backup, who's Premier League proven, who kind of fits the mould of midfielder Arteta likes, I think it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, so on that, Arsenal are in the process of finalising the agreement with Brentford over Christian Norgard. The dialogue continues between Arsenal and Brentford midfielder over the contract length at the Emirates Stadium. The medical for the 31-year-old Denmark international is being planned. I think it's fairly low risk, isn't it? 9.3 million it comes up on the...
I can't believe it's that cheap.
On the sheets. Yeah, and like you say, on paper, I would say the only maybe mitigating factor over time could be the age. But you are replacing him with a 32-year-old, right? So, or yeah, a 31-year-old is replacing a 32-year-old. So the age, as you mentioned, he's not necessarily a nailed-on starter with Zubimendi. He was more of almost like a Jorginho replacement instead of like a Partey replacement. Obviously, Zubimendi coming in, and I think his stats must obviously be quite, mid to high range.
I had a glance on FB Ref, and that doesn't tell you everything. Because. I'll give you an example. Norgard's passing numbers aren't great. Like, just at a simple statistical view, they don't look very good. But then Brentford are one of the more direct teams in the league, or certainly have been under Thomas Frank. They're a team that like to go from back to front quite quickly. They play with a very dynamic front three. They've played with the front two at times with wing backs. They've been very good at counter-attacking. They can get on the ball and play as well, no doubt. But Norgard has excelled on set pieces, defensively, his frame and stature. In that sense, he feels very Mikel Arteta. Not in terms of the play Arteta wants, but in terms of the play Arteta was, but the type of play Arteta wants in his midfield. There we go. I finally got it out there. But defensively, statistically, he's pretty good. Look, I think the eye test, I think most Premier League fans, if they don't attach to Arsenal, they're simply asked, what do you think of Christian Norgard? They go, yeah, good player. That's probably the end of the conversation. And that's what I think we're getting.
Yeah, 6'1", Denmark international, age 31, starts off his career with Lyngby, moves to Hamburg and then Brøndby, and then Fiorentina. Only had 6 games there, and in 2019 gets that move to Brentford, where he has seen the growth of the club rapidly. So he's a fan favourite. He's been
got promoted with them, didn't he?
Captain as well. He got promoted with them, and yeah, at age 31, I think it's a fairly low profile but also a low risk signing. If this one doesn't work out in a year, then it's probably best for all parties to leave. But have you heard any more on the length of the contract?
No, I haven't seen anything about that. I think what Arsenal are really looking at here, because look, there are other options. You go for Lucien Agume, who was talked about maybe 20 million, maybe more, from Sevilla. You could go really big on a Baleba, but that's going to cost you big money. And there are other sixes around. Could you go for a Douglas Luiz, who's kind of that experienced Premier League, but also maybe a slightly better age or whatever?
You've been linked with him before.
We've been linked with him loads of times, yeah. I think everything about Arsenal's window and what they've done so far, for me, is actually defined by the knock-on it has. So Zubimendi's a big signing. I really don't want that being played down. I think a lot of people have, because we've known about it for a while, but it's a really big signing. Kepa for 5 million over Garcia for 25, not getting Agume for 20 million, or tying up Partey because instead you want an Norgard. A lot of this is saving money on sensible players. If it means that we get that big left winger and that big striker, I think everyone will stop and reflect on it and go, fair play. It's a bit like these Jora Hato links, which I know we're going to go on to. Similar thing. If we sign him, but Kivior stays, Zinchenko's kind of not really being moved on, you are kind of looking at it and going, why have we added another left-footer to the squad? But you lose those two, Hato comes in, makes complete sense. Another thing about Norgard is you can slot into centre-back. So a lot of these, I think, will make sense depending on what Arsenal do for the rest of the window. And it feels like they're being quite efficient with other parts of the squad. Not bad players, by the way. Kepa's a good player. Norgard's a good player. They're being more efficient with those particular deals because they want to do the real stuff in the front line. Now, that is quite wishful thinking, because Arsenal can let us down when it comes to this stuff. But I think that's the plan, or at least I'm hoping that's the plan.
Yeah, you mentioned the word sensible there, which is quite funny. I was just having a flick through X there, and I saw someone quote tweet the signing, the announcement of the interest at least. And it's an Arsenal fan that says, I can already imagine James B calling this a sensible signing. And you have.
That's exactly... Did someone actually tweet that?
Someone actually did tweet that.
No
I just
way.
tried to find it, yeah.
Oh,
someone actually did tweet that.
Oh, I'm going to find that. That's hilarious.
I will find it in a sec if someone can find the link. But I did see it, and I should have sent it to you immediately.
That is so funny.
Listen, it is a sensible signing, I think. He can come and cover. He can maybe jump in towards the end of games in the Champions League.
Yeah, I found it.
You got it? What does it say?
I already know James from AFTV is calling that signing a sensible one.
And you have. So that person, whoever it was right.
at solo9.ii.
There you go.
Yeah, fair play.
There you go. There you go. I almost look at him as like our Endo.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen people
in terms of the experience. He's obviously a leader as well, by the way, which is great and very underrated to have in changing rooms these days. Experienced pro. Yeah, it's just good to have him to bring on for the last 15, 20 to shore things up. I mean, Partey was probably more, he could play at right back. He could play, drop to centre back if he absolutely needed to. He could obviously play in a 6, in an 8. So I think it is a sensible. I'm trying to think of other words, but it is actually a sensible signing.
Listen to this. So this comes from Sammy Mokbel, who has probably been the leading journalist in the last year or two for Arsenal breaking news. Right. He's at the BBC. He said that Arsenal advanced talks with Brentford over a move for Christian Norgard. Genuine interest in a... Yeah.
It's on the screen.
Yeah, there we go. Hey. Genuine interest in Agume, but Arteta wanted Premier League proven player, which tells us a lot about Arteta and the way he views a lot of the members of the squad he wants. But that there was interest in other players. But is this the more... But what I want to stress, right, I know we sort of laugh about the whole, James is going to call it a sensible signing. I will stress this. I do think Arsenal at a point where they simply need the best players. Gyökeres and Sesko, if one's 60 million, one's 80 million, don't pick the 60 million pound one because it's you save 20 million and it makes more sense, we've got a better deal. Who is the player Arteta fundamentally wants? Norgard and Agume might be very different players. Who's the one Arteta really wants? Now, that report tells us he wanted the Premier League experience of Christian Norgard, fine. But that's got to be a running theme in every signing. Zubimendi's wanted for a long time. I like that. Kepa, fine, it's a backup. We know he'll do a job. It's a backup keeper. What more can you say? Norgard, we've got that there. But Hato, we wanted a year and a half ago. Whatever we do, the striker and the left winger, just make it players that this manager and Berta, because Berta will be a part of it, actually wants. And then there's kind of like no more excuses. None of this, the club just went for, that was a bit cheaper, so we did that one. I want Arsenal to get the quality the manager genuinely wants in at the club.
Yeah, it's all about getting your first choice options in that eventually lead to a Premier League title or Champions League. And I think Arsenal, and I've heard you say it in the past, this summer, this transfer window, I should be specific, is so important to future-proof and almost guarantee success. And you don't want to buy any players that are maybe a stopgap or cover over the cracks, or they've got ambition, they've got promise. You need someone now who's going to win you the league now. But having said that, I pray and hope for Arsenal fans, this is only the start of the flurry of transfers coming into the club. And, obviously Kepa's going to come through the door. Zubimendi, we think and we presume that these maybe get announced on Tuesday when it becomes the new PSR year on July the 1st.
I think so. I think certainly in that kind of first week, you imagine that's when everything will start to be announced by the club. But, I know everyone's saying Arsenal have been slow, and I kind of get it. But then Gabriel tied to a new deal. Saliba and Saka contracts ongoing. The Partey thing's been sorted now. He's leaving. Lewis Skelly signed a new deal. You're absolutely right. With Norgard, Zubimendi and Kepa all done. And we knew if we were losing 2 DMs, we needed 2 DMs. We knew if we were losing... we needed a backup goalkeeper and we brought one in. And I can't really think of many better than Kepa unless you're going to go for the Garcia type to push Raya. Look, I'm not saying I'm sat here, we're winning the league. Hey, we're nicking. I can see the trophy there. We're going to nick it from. I'm not saying that.
Keep your eyes off for that.
But am I feeling massively inspired? No. But Arsenal need to do the other bits. In the same way, by the way, if Arsenal signed Gyökeres last week and Rodrigo, I'd be like, yay, I feel amazing, this is great. And then we got to August 30th or whatever, and we didn't have a backup keeper, a backup DM. I'd be going, I'm really happy. We need those players too. They might not be as glamorous and exciting, but it's all part of it. So
when do you think, as you say, you've got to tick boxes. I think you've got to ensure that you've got the depth and the ability to change teams, change players depending on who you're playing against. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
You need a backup goalkeeper of a decent level. You need another CDM to come in and cover some ground. I hear it. You need all that. But when, and I'm asking this on behalf of Arsenal fans, for Arsenal fans, when will the strikers be coming in? When will we see that instant, right, we've got him, now we can really start getting excited and get behind either Sesko or Gyökeres? When is that going to happen?
A couple reports were saying that Arteta's really pushing for it to be before pre-season. That's my cut-off. basically, after that point, I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
They leave for tour, I think, July 19th, July 20th. It's got to be before then. I think if it takes any longer, we're starting to really impact pre-season prep plans. We've got a really difficult start to the season. Of course, we know we're playing you guys.
August 30th.
Yeah, what's that, game 3?
Yeah.
Old Trafford, Anfield, St James's Park, with Forest and City at home in that time. That's all. That Leeds at home. That's our first 6. It's really, really nasty start. Now, albeit the fixture list kind of evens out, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you make a terrible start, it can kill your momentum. So, I think they have to be in by pre-season. If they're not, then you've got to wonder why the club had such a shambles of a January. But people are kind of wondering it now, and I understand it.
Yeah, when you look at the depth that Arsenal are actually accruing and the ones that are actually leaving the club, where's the levels? Because I saw Turkish do a tweet earlier saying something like, would you prefer Jorginho and Zubimendi, or would you prefer Partey or Norgard in this instance?
Yeah, Zubimendi and Norgard.
That was it.
Or Partey and Jorginho.
That was it. What would you prefer?
I know it's a crap answer. I genuinely don't know. I really don't, because what I don't want to do is sit here and say just because we're signing Zubimendi that I think he's better than Partey. I thought Partey was really good last season. I think Zubimendi, he looks absolutely class. Whenever I watch him, he looks class. Some data and some stuff suggests that maybe he lacks in certain areas that people are expecting. I think people might think he's like an elite on the ball. Eye test shows me his numbers are a little bit more. I'm a little bit more hesitant when I read those. Norgard at 31 is probably a better player than Jorginho at 33, 34. I mean, Norgard's played another full season for Brentford at a good level. They had a good season, and he's a mainstay in that team. Do you think Norgard today is better than Jorginho today? I mean, I think so.
I do. Yeah.
So we've upgraded in that position. Is Zubimendi today better? What do you genuinely think? I mean, at one point Liverpool wanted Zubimendi. Did you feel you were getting a better DM than Thomas Partey?
It's a good question. I mean,
I have no idea. I mean, also different teams,
yeah,
different
I can't
leagues.
really call it different leagues. Yeah, gun to my head, I'd probably just go with. I was going to say Partey. Probably, maybe I'll just nick it to Zubimendi. But the fact that I've had to think about that is, shows how little in golf there is between the two. But let us know what you think in the chat. Let us know what you think. Yeah, Partey.
By the way, may I just say,
where do you think he ends up? By the way, Partey on a free.
I actually don't know. I mean, maybe Atletico might come back in. There were some rumours, but then there was other reports that they couldn't match his wages. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. A Juve, an Inter, a Barca, an Atleti, something like that. By the way, just for people, some saying Norgard's clear of Jorginho, but Norgard's not as good as Jorginho on the ball. I mean, let's establish that. Even in his final season, Jorginho's class on the ball, but off the ball, Norgard's got much more about him.
Yeah, a couple of super chats. Mancunian Swagger says, sorry, but Arsenal aren't moving like they want the title. We've already asked you now in the poll, who's a better player, Partey or Zubimendi? Who do you prefer? We said no to Odegaard. Arteta heard Norgard, says Canadian Gooner 95. And Cashley Cole says, how much XG will Arsenal lose with Partey gone? I think you're the man to answer that. You got the stats to hand? Or
I do not. What was it again?
How much XG will Arsenal lose with Partey gone?
No idea.
No, you don't. What are the ticket prices there for a good seat, USA? What are you talking about, fella? What's the actual tournament you're referring to? If it's Club World Cup, then I've heard stories of really expensive and really cheap as well, so I'm not too sure. But let us know. Get in touch again and we'll give you some advice. So on that one, Christian Norgard coming in, Thomas Partey going out. I guess the only two things that you would need to tick off as an Arsenal fan is a left winger and a striker now.
I'm in the camp that we need a central player, but if you're talking pure squad depth, Waneri covers for Odegaard. I actually think they'll give Vieira another season. I think they would.
Fabio Vieira.
Yeah, I think
he's
they
back
will.
now, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't think they'll sell him for the kind of money they want. So I actually think he'll stay. So your central players, sorry to go through. So your central players are, I was about to say Partey, Jorginho, Norgard. That's going to take some to get used to. Norgard, Zubimendi, Marino, Rice, Odegaard, Vieira, Waneri. I mean, plenty of players in there.
Yeah, depth there.
And then if you get a left winger, Trossard, Martinelli, striker, Havertz, Jesus, Saka, you got 7 players there with Jesus out for the season, 6 for 3 positions. One area can play out there. It's quite a lot of players. Are they all to the quality? Well, it looks a lot better if you get the right left winger and the right striker as well.
Okay, well, let us know in the chat, how do you feel about Christian Norgard coming in as a Thomas Partey / Jorginho replacement under Mikel Arteta? The 31-year-old looks to have agreed the personal terms with Arsenal, and it's at the finalising agreement stages between the two clubs when it comes to the fee, which we believe will be around 9.3 million. But this one has moved quite quickly today. It did start today, and it's pretty much ended today as well.
Yeah.
What do you make of this? The new social media hint by Benjamin Sesko as the striker started following Arsenal on Instagram today. I mean, surely he was already following them. I heard this is maybe an older screenshot, but what do you think?
For me, did he actually start following them today? I mean, Fabrizio Romano, I imagine, would have checked up on this. I imagine there's the kind of thing that him and his team would have looked at lots of times. Is he following Arsenal? Now he is. And they probably every day have it as a just check. Now, people might go, that's silly, that's kind of social media journalism. But the reality is that it can be a hint. I mean, Sesko and his agent, I imagine there'd be certain do's and don'ts in the transfer window. Don't talk about this, don't post about that, don't give some hints away, don't do anything that might scupper the deal. And they probably said, don't really give anything that can look like a clue. So maybe I'm reading too much into it. Or, he does follow Real Madrid and Man City as well. Someone found that.
Oh, it does it?
So, I mean, it equally could just mean absolutely nothing. But, yeah, if I were ever in that privileged position where Arsenal would sign me, and it was a massive media thing, I don't think I'd be pouring fuel on the fire. But who knows? Michael's just said he follows City and Madrid. Yeah, exactly. So, could mean absolutely nothing. But if he actually did start following him today, that's a little bit, why would you do that? Apart from you're just bored on holiday and you're on Instagram.
Fair enough. Let us know. Do you think that kind of stuff, where it's social media bits and bobs, do you think that impacts anything? Do you think it means anything? Let us know in the chat. There was a bit of breaking news just literally before we went live, and it was this: Cristiano Ronaldo is set to sign a new deal at Al Nassr as formal documents are now being checked. Fabrizio loves that line, doesn't he? Formal documents are being checked. Final details being discussed. 1 or 2 year deal. Concrete possibility to make it happen until June 2027 if Cristiano wants. It's a massive move for the SPL, not the Scottish Premier League, but the Saudi Pro League, to keep Cristiano Ronaldo. If he didn't, in a hypothetical world, I mean, Al Nassr fans will be happy. Some of them have actually said they don't want him to sign because almost he takes too much of the shine off everyone else. But hypothetically, if he didn't sign again for Al Nassr, and we're awaiting the final documents to be checked, of course.
Absolutely.
Where else could he have gone at this age? Or where else can he still go, maybe after this?
Look, do I know what Ronaldo's level is right now? He's starting for Portugal.
Scoring winners.
Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the greatest footballers of all time. He can, salary permitting, he can go wherever he wants. I mean, there's not many clubs that can probably afford the kind of money he wants. But in theory, he could, within reason, maybe outside of the top clubs who, have others in that position that they don't want to sort of let go of. He could play for most, I imagine. I don't think his level's in question.
40 years old now.
Which is incredible. I mean, what him and Messi are doing is unbelievable. Still playing, still showing their talent on even the international stage. Were Al Hilal looking at him? Ronaldo?
I believe so. Maybe to bring him in for the Club World Cup.
Yeah, never
but
happened.
That didn't happen. No.
I do feel like they would have wanted Ronaldo, Messi at the Club World Cup, just because it's just so marketable, isn't it? But what do you think? Have you watched much of him at Al Nassr?
I haven't. I mean, look, I'm looking at the stats at the minute, and it's 74 goals in 77 games in the league for Al Nassr since 2023, when obviously he left Manchester United. He still does a job in that league. I think if he came to the Premier League now and, maybe was up front for Arsenal, for example, I don't think you see the same Ronaldo that we did maybe even 4 years ago at United, because he doesn't get back. He kind of goal hangs a little bit, and you would at 40 years old. You're not going to do the dog work, as it's known as.
He looks after himself so well.
Oh, of course.
He can strike a football. His positioning and movement will still be elite. Pace, power, all that might get questioned at some point, if not already. But
it looks like he'll go to the World Cup, though.
Sorry?
He will go to the World Cup, though, won't he? Next year?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that's exactly what he's playing. If he's still playing now, then yeah, another year and you
Isn't
go to
it
the World
crazy,
Cup
though, right? How the longevity of his career is never questioned. Because I remember being at the game, I think, in Qatar, where Portugal lost to Korea, I think, and it sent them home. And there was that famous shot, wasn't there, of Ronaldo coming down the tunnel crying, kind of kicking up a fuss. Yep. And every single person went, haha, you're never going to win a World Cup now. And I'm not saying he definitely will win the World Cup next year, but to even 4 years after that be around still in the squad, still the captain. I mean, we are looking at someone who has scored 138 international goals in 221 games. I mean, he's still going. And would you even rule out the next Euros after the World Cup for him?
I tell you what I'd say is that I think this World Cup might be what's driving him. You know, Messi got there in the end. I feel like Ronaldo's like... I mean,
he wants that ending, doesn't he, as well?
This Portugal squad is...
stacked.
It's good, man. Like, it is ridiculously good. How many what international trophies has Ronaldo got? He's got the Euros and 2 Nations League?
2 Nations Leagues now, which is 3.
Well, it's not bad, is it? But
it's not bad.
I know people laugh at the Nations
And one of them
League,
was
something.
21 years ago.
Which one?
Sorry, Euro 2004. Sorry, he won the Euros in 16.
Yeah,
didn't he?
2016.
Yeah, sorry, because it was in Portugal and he got to the final in 04. That's why I thought they won it. But Greece won it famously.
I think the World Cup's still driving him. Stay in amazing shape. Apart from he loves this sport and he's still brilliant at it. Why not? Even if he's a bit part player for Portugal. I mean, I don't think he ever would be. But, you know, that is a stacked squad with immense talent. And international football can be a bit unpredictable. Italy won the Euros when no one really expected it. I think people thought Spain would be this good going into the last Euros. Who won the last World Cup? I always forget.
Argentina.
Obviously. Mm-hmm. And again, like, I mean, we know they had Messi, but I thought there may be better 11 for 11s out there. And Messi got his hand in it. So yeah, interesting one.
So let us know, is this contract renewal with Al Nassr Ronaldo's way of saying, look, I'm here till the World Cup. If I win that, then I'll make a decision after that whether to stay at Al Nassr or move on to somewhere else. I'm sure, like you say, anyone with maybe £1 million a week can afford to pay him. But how do you feel about Ronaldo signing that deal? And can he actually do the unthinkable and win the World Cup next year after everyone wrote him off in 2022 in Qatar? Let us know. Prince Brandon says, Norgard is a player Arteta has wanted for years, but Partey when he had arrived, but he had Partey when he arrived, and then Jorginho became available, who he was also keen to have. It's that kind of similar profile, isn't it, that he's bringing in. This is nice from Yadvendra. James is the most level-headed Arsenal fan I have seen, non-delusional or rage-baiting. Shots fired. Definitely the best guest on the show, unlike one bold Malteser calling Zubimendi the best signing.
Thank you for being lovely about me. Obviously I love my boss, so let me not. Yeah, top bloke. But yeah.
That makes sense. I'd say exactly the same. Paul Pogba, another player who was at Manchester United with Ronaldo the second time around, went through this ban. It's been reduced a little bit, and now he can go again and play for AS Monaco.
How
the verbal agreement in place there. Speak amongst yourselves.
32?
I'm going to go with 32 as well, and he's 32 in March. And the last time he played was in 23-24 with Juventus. He only played 2 games that season, but going to Monaco, is this a chance for him to almost be in France, be in the limelight, get your appearances up, get your minutes in, and then maybe could he even push for a World Cup place again next year with France? Or have they moved on from him now?
Oh, now I need to remember their midfielders. Chouameni, Rabiot always seems to make the squad.
He does.
You've got some more 10s in there like Shirky. Does Kante keep making the squad?
No, I don't think
he does
anymore.
My feeling with the Pogba saga. I think I said this when we were talking about Mudryk last week.
They play Manu Kone sometimes in there.
Of course, Manu Kone.
Guendouzi still plays a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think said this about Mudryk last week. If you have done something, illegal, cheating, you kept out the game, you're not going to find me complaining about that. But I do believe in a second chance. I do believe in there being a return period, and he's got himself a great club in Monaco. It's a great club. It's a great move. He'll be playing in France, and I bet there's still bags and bags and bags of talent that he'll display when there. So, yeah, I think it's a good move for him, and good to see him back in football.
Yeah, it must have been mentally tough for him to deal with, first of all, the ban, but then the time off, and seeing which kind of team would take him in that condition. Is this a risk from Monaco? Are they looking at this to say, it's obviously a free deal because he's out of contract, but is it a calculated risk on their side? Because again, they're not taking a spring chicken. Are they almost doing him a favour by taking him?
No, I think they'd be doing it because they've got some good midfielders there, if I'm not mistaken, and they have done over many years. I think they're doing it because they must believe there's a top player in there. They must believe there's a Paul Pogba of. Let me ask you this: did you think Paul Pogba was a flop at Man United?
I don't think the word flop is applicable here. I'd go with we expected more, but there were still some moments of like, wow, what was that? He still got it. I think the thing is, you have to remember with Pogba in United, he came through the academy there, he goes away, and then they spend 90 million on him to bring him back, which, I mean, look, I think he won a Europa League, Carabao Cup,
FA Cup, I think.
FA Cup
at some point.
So it's not the worst for Manchester United. It's not the worst, but I wouldn't call him a flop. I think that would be a little bit too harsh.
I don't think the signing was the start of what they wanted to happen. Obviously, they had Mourinho and Zlatan and everything, but I think he more than showed his quality. I think there were. Was he as good? Did he play at the level that we thought? Was he going punch for punch with De Bruyne and David Silva? Maybe not. But I thought he was class. And I think
in a couple of times he did when they beat City. I think I remember him scoring 2 to win
game
at
for
the
game
Etihad.
He might have, yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Across seasons,
not across seasons.
But here's a player who I think has shown his quality throughout his career, and obviously what he's done for France. Thought he was brilliant at the World Cup when they won it, and he's I think they're giving him a chance because he's a very, very, very good footballer. So, I'm interested to see how this goes for Paul Pogba.
Yeah, chat in the comment here from Mamo says, I'm just happy to see Pogba playing again. I think he's one of those underrated players, world-class vision and touch. I hope he does make the World Cup. And listen, yes, ex-Manchester United player, but I agree with that from Mamo. He's clearly someone who absolutely adores the game. His technical ability and his athleticism is something that you don't find. He's almost like a Zlatan of a midfielder, if that makes sense. So big, strong, can move you on fairly easily, can get past you, can shoot from range, score from range. He has got a bit of everything. And for him, why not? Give it another roll of the dice at Monaco. Try get yourself back in that squad. I think it's easier to do that playing in France rather than anywhere else because all the spotlight's going to be on you. You wouldn't want it to be like a sentimental pick at the World Cup. You'd want him to get there on merit. And I think, if that's the absolute best option out there for you at the minute, go and shine and fall back in love with football, And I am happy to see him playing again. I look forward to seeing some highlights across the season. So let us know. Paul Pogba back in football after such a long time out. He will be having his medical test later on in the week in Monaco as he suits that shirt as well, to be honest. I quite like their shirts. I always have done.
It's a bit of an Arsenal shirt.
It's going to be. It is a little bit. Okay. He's actually going to be teammates with Takumi Minamino now. So looking forward to that little link up. Cashley Cole says, Clever James. After Wirtz, who is the best signing, in your opinion?
Oh, of the window so far?
So far.
I mean, I struggle to look past Ryan Shirky for
that's a good one.
25, 30 million.
40, wasn't it?
Was that Euros? I mean, I think that's a class addition by Man City. They needed more
40
quality. Or they did lose De Bruyne. I do think the Zubimendi one's very underrated. I think people are just like, oh yeah, good player. But I think he's brilliant. I think he'll show that. I don't think it's signing of the summer though. Are there any I'm missing? Kirkers is smart.
Frimpong?
Frimpong's smart. I tell you what, I think if United get Mbemo,
Tottenham get Eze
thing is,
as
it's
well.
on Amorim as well, but yeah, I like Eze a lot. I think Mbemo's class. I like him so much. I was almost willing to see a world in which we played with a false 9 and it was Mbemo because of his quality, Premier League proven, the numbers he's got. I almost think he was more enticing than some of the actual 9s we were going for. So I think he could thrive at Man United, especially if he plays on the right of that front three, very narrow, with Cunha, who was also a very good signing. I think they're made for what Amorim and Man United are looking to do. See, I'm a big fan. People are saying Reinders, yeah, but I think Mbemo's up there. Delap looks exciting, don't get me wrong.
Scored last night, didn't he?
Good player.
Yeah.
Like, he is a good player. I just feel like it's more of the same type of transfer for Chelsea, but I might be wrong. But.
We've asked you in the chat who's the better player, Partey or Zubimendi. It ends up 56% to Partey and 44% for Zubimendi after 500 votes. Clara Bitsy says, James, what is your honest opinion on Transfer Daily, and do you watch Transfer Daily? Be honest.
I'll give you the honest answers. I don't always watch it because I literally am in it. So I'm like, I can do with a break from transfers. My honest opinion is, yeah, I mean, like, Robbie keeps you up to date every single morning, every single day on what's going on. It's all pulled from reports. I've seen him on tour when he's doing the effort and putting the work into it. So how many content creators are up at 6, 7 a.m. every morning to gather everything that's happened from the day and night before and putting out that day? Yeah, sometimes there's slower news days, but to be fair, he always delivers a show with plenty to talk about. So those are my honest thoughts. Also, I'm hoping he'll take me to Singapore. So there we go.
You are going on tour, aren't you?
Might be.
Yeah,
We're
you might
figuring
be.
that out.
You might be. On the Darwin Nunez move, the potential move, it looks like he's chosen Napoli. Was there ever any point, I remember actually on Robbie's Transfer Daily, that he spoke about Nunez last summer. Do you think for himself, a freshly shaved shaven head, by the way,
yeah,
which as a Liverpool fan, it's like, he actually could be good now, and we're about to let him go. I remember
Torres though.
But I remember early on in his Atletico days, Guillaume Balaguer once said that when he is going through a rough patch, he shaves his hair. He's had the long hair, he's had the short hair. And I know these things are a bit silly, you can look into them a bit too much, but do you think Darwin Nunez, and it seems like he's wanting Napoli, do you think that is the right move for Darwin Nunez, and how much do you think Liverpool could recoup there?
Liverpool recoup fees that I can't quite believe. We talked about this last week. Some of the fees you guys get in for players, just blows my mind. Like I think Zinchenko's a better footballer than Brewster. Who's a centre back you've just lost?
Jarrell Quansah.
Nunez. Like I actually think Zinchenko's a better footballer than all three, and he will go for nowhere near what you guys are getting for those players. Now there'll be contract length,
different ages though, isn't it?
Different ages. There'll be lots of things. Centre backs go for a lot of money, and strikers don't get all that. But still, like, it kind of blows my mind. So ultimately, I think you'll get 50 million for Nunez, because also it's so difficult to pin Nunez down. I don't think Nunez is a bad footballer. I think he's fast, he's strong, he's an absolute handful, absolute trier. Work hard is there. The hard work is there. He's kind of like technical in a clumsy way. Kind of does things. I'm like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And
But
trips
did
up
he
on
mean
himself.
to do it?
Yeah, but did he mean to? Yeah, like, so
I've
you've
done
got to
that
make
a
me
lot of
laugh.
times at Anfield, mate.
Yeah,
don't
I'm
worry.
not surprised. And then he'll score some great goals. But then you'll go, well, he misses all the time. And then May comes around. You look at his numbers. You go, oh, they're quite good. Like, he's just so. I'm gonna have a look. Let me find Darwin Nunez on Transfermarkt. I mean, you'll get 50 million
60.
for him, huh?
I think he's Liverpool want 60. Napoli are offering closer to 50, so they're going to have to meet in the middle somewhere.
The fact that they're even offering, I've run a million miles with that.
Yeah.
Honestly,
No, you
I'm
would.
going to look up here, right? So Darwin Nunez, 26 years old, so he's a good age, right? This last season gone, he got. Just waiting for the internet here to work. Come on, production.
Yeah. Come on.
Well, I've got it here.
Spin that wheel.
The numbers aren't as good as I thought.
No, they're awful, bro. They're pretty awful.
Oh, I actually thought they were better.
No.
Oh, right, okay, 7 goals last season.
I've seen a lot.
Okay, what about the season before that?
19,
I swear there's a season we got like, what did you say, 19 the season before? Bro, that's good.
I think. It's not that good, though, considering how much we paid.
18, okay, I agree, but 18 goals for a player who basically everyone thinks is crap.
No, but 18 goals.
In all comps. But genuinely, and I'm not even exaggerating whatsoever, he should have scored 45. I'm retracting. They're not as good as I thought.
No, they're not. He scored 40 goals for Liverpool. Ever.
Okay. All right, it's not as good as I thought.
Yeah.
But I think to my point, it's more like last season, 18, 19, whatever it was. Honestly, the way people talk about it, I thought he'd got 6. I'm like, well, actually,
I wasn't far off.
18, 19 goals isn't... It's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but
Arsenal fans are quite happy they got that out of Havertz.
I know, but Nunez is an out-and-out striker who scored 34 goals in the season before we signed him. But hey-ho, let us know in the chat what you think. If Arsenal can't get Rodrigo, says Jimmy, what would be another marquee signing that Arsenal should go for if you can't get Rodrigo? I mean, what if you had to give a percentage chance of Rodrigo coming to Arsenal?
I'll give it like 30%.
30? Okay, that's quite big.
Yeah, because I do think he'll go, and I don't think there's that many clubs that are willing to sort of spend the money. You know, PSG just got Kvaratskhelia, Barcola's not going anywhere. City are stacked in wide areas. Liverpool have gone big on Wirtz. They want a striker. I don't think you guys need a Rodrigo unless Diaz goes. I don't see Tottenham Man United come in for him. He's not... no, I don't. But maybe they might surprise us. Obviously, he would never go to Barcelona. So, I think Arsenal are quite well positioned for a Rodrigo-type signing. And I think there's actually quite a good chance that he's Real Madrid. But it's just like... He's so good that I'm sort of only giving it 30 because I don't really believe Arsenal will do it. But I think it's possible.
And if it isn't him, who's it?
Nico Williams going to Barca.
Yeah, that's ruled out.
Then I'd rather we went for someone like Mohamed Kudus. Even if he's a left footer, he typically plays on the right.
I think that's a great option.
I would, yeah. I remember we talked about him last week. This is probably the 53rd show across the various channels I'm on, saying that Kudus is the one I think Arsenal should get. And yeah, I think we should.
65 mil.
Yeah, do it. 100% do it. Yeah.
Cashley Cole says, Transfer Daily, is it just Mr. Don Robbie going through rumours on Reddit and Discord and passing it off as transfer news?
He's not going on Reddit.
Reddit.
He's not going on Reddit to get this news.
And to finish us off, Harmon says, I think I'm one of the few Liverpool fans that would take Nunez over any other striker. I know we will regret selling him, and I don't know why everyone wants him gone. A few things can be true in that without me agreeing with everything. We very well might regret selling him one day. But to say I don't know why everyone wants him gone, I mean, have you watched any of Liverpool's Premier League, European or Cup games in the last 3 seasons? And I think after 3 seasons you go, hang on, you've had enough time there. And you should have scored double the goals that you have scored. Still a Premier League winner, though, and leaves with a good few trophies under his belt as well. So, big him up.
Yeah, a Carabao Cup, a Premier League. Has played in the Champions League. I've seen 6...
Community Shield as well, if we're counting that.
Yeah, well, I am, because
you do.
My manager's Mikel Arteta, so I'm counting this.
Exactly, you have to. We forget about that.
I think I've seen worse £70 million signings. I really have. Now look, it wasn't a good signing by Liverpool. He hasn't lived up to it, far from it. But in a weird way, like, I can see why Liverpool fans loved him for so long.
Yeah.
His energy,
I mean, I was there,
spirit.
bro.
Huh?
I was there every step of the way with him.
Yeah.
Praying that he'd turn the corner. Yeah. I actually did a top 5 Nunez moments on Cop TV yesterday, and I think the top one was his flick goal against Real Madrid in the Champions League, which obviously we lost that game 5-2. But that 20 minutes when we went 2-0 up in the first 20 was, in terms of euphoria and joy, because it was the first time we played them since we lost against them in the final in 2022.
And you're having a bad season, weren't you?
And things weren't going well. We're thinking, hang on, is Europe going to be our way of winning a trophy? So I'd have that up there. I'd have the Newcastle away. I'd have the Forest away, the Brentford away.
Those 2 finishes at Newcastle away captured him. No way will Nunez fire 10-man Liverpool to a win. Oh my God, wow.
He was a sub as well.
Yeah, 2 unbelievable finishes. Running channels, just wanting it. I remember him coming out the Emirates and just causing us problems. He scored.
Yeah.
He started at the Emirates, I think, and
Scored,
equalised
yeah.
for you guys.
And he set Mo Salah up at the Emirates last season.
Yes,
didn't
he did. Because he's a channel runner. Because he's a trier. Because he's a good player. He's
Doesn't
just not a
stop.
great player.
Yeah, and I think you've summed it up perfectly. And Liverpool need great strikers at the club, unfortunately, wearing that number 9 shirt. Boxer Frogs says, like and subscribe, MFers. Right, that's all for today. The main story in this show, obviously, is Norgard to Arsenal. Just to remind you, Arsenal exploring that deal to sign Christian Norgard. That now looks confirmed. We're waiting to see how long the contract will be, but it looks like £9.3 million is enough to get him from West to North London, as the Denmark international is still contracted under Brentford for 2 more years, but Arsenal have got their man, it seems, as Thomas Partey leaves Arsenal on a free. Let us know in the comments where you think Thomas Partey actually ends up. And of course, we've spoken there about all the other bits and bobs that we've spoken about in this show, live at 5. Same time tomorrow.
Absolutely,
Fancy it?
I'll be here.
All right,
Yeah,
we'll
look
see you
forward
there
to it.
then. Big up to James, as always. Make sure you go and follow and subscribe to the Gooniverse. And like I said, tomorrow it's a Thursday, isn't it? So back to
God,
the
the week's
weekend
flying,
preview
isn't it?
show. It is flying.
Oh.
It's a very hot week, actually.
yes.
So it is going a little bit slow. But in terms of the shows, they are flying out here on DR Sports. 12:30, we'll be back with that. And of course, this show live at 5 tomorrow as well. And a very special Best of Enemies to come out on Friday. Don't say anything, don't ruin the surprise, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, guys. Make sure you subscribe to DR Sports so you're not without any of these videos. Like the video on the way out, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.